Hi guys, Larry the Barber Man back again, and the topic of today's discussion is how to power any hair clipper in a country with a power supply of 220 volts to 240 volts. Now the reason I've made this particular video, I've had a lot of DMs and emails from barbers asking me why their hair clippers are blowing up, why are they making noise, how do they get them to perform. How do they get US hair clippers to perform in countries like Argentina, Russia, Belgium, and indeed here in the UK? So the objective of today's tutorial is to give you a complete understanding of how you can power hair clippers seamlessly in your particular country. Now in order to do that, before we start, I first want to go over the basics of voltage, current, and frequency. With a basic understanding of these three things, that will give you the ability to read any label on any clipper and then take the correct action in order to get that hair clipper to work seamlessly. So without further ado, let's start off with a brief explanation of voltage. Now, when we want to power hair clippers in countries like Europe and Southern America, typically the voltage will be anywhere between 220 volts and 240 volts. Now, the question I often get asked is when hair clippers have a specification on them requiring 220 volts and there's a 240 volts coming from your electrical outlet in your home, will it blow up the hair clipper or will there be a problem? The answer to that is absolutely no. All three of these voltages, 220 to 240, are compatible. So anytime you see those voltages coming from an outlet like this and going into any of these clippers that may read between 220 and 240, you are absolutely good to go. There will not be a problem. So you need not worry if you see any of these voltages either on as an output or an input on any of these clippers. So that's the first thing, is voltage. Second, I want to discuss current. Now in 99.9% of the cases, all voltage and current that goes into all of these hair clippers is what's called alternating current, or in short, AC. And what that means is that the voltage and the current alternates between a positive cycle and a negative cycle, positive cycle and a negative cycle. And the reason I'm doing this movement is because that's how it shows that's how it's depicted as a shape. Now another way to simplify this positive and negative charge is on, off, on, off. So I'm going to simplify it yet again because it might be a little bit confusing. This light bulb here runs off of an AC current. If we all had superhuman eyes and we can slow things way down, and I had an electric current going through my hand into this light bulb, you would see this light bulb going on and off, on and off, and that's when it's doing the positive charge, negative charge, it goes off, positive charge on, negative charge off. So that's what alternating current means. It's basically turning electricity on and off really quickly. So that's alternating current. The last thing I want to discuss is frequency. Now frequency is the number of cycles on, off per second. So frequency, hertz, is the number of cycles per second. So here in the UK we have a 50 hertz cycle. So I know that every 1 second 50 of these on-off cycles or positive cycles take place. So again, if we had superhuman eyes, 240 volts was running through my body with a 50 hertz cycle and I could light up this light bulb. If I had superhuman eyes, we would see this going on and off 50 times in 1 second. But now, because this is traveling, the electricity is traveling so fast, it creates the illusion that this is a constant supply to this light bulb, hence you don't see the flickering, it just shows continuously. In America, if we was at 120 volts with a 60 hertz cycle running through my body, we would see this light bulb going on and off 60 times if we had superhuman eyes that slow it down. So that is hertzage. Yeah, 50 hertz UK, Europe, South America, 60 hertz in America. So with that little basic understanding, when I'm speaking to you about how to power these hair clippers appropriately, you'll have a better understanding. But before we go on, I just want to discuss some other tools and devices. This here, or three in fact, I'm going to explain to you. This here is a transformer, a step down transformer, and its job is to take the voltage from 240 volts down to 110 volts. With this keeps a continuous frequency of 50 hertz. So this does not change the frequency, it only changes the voltage, and that is a step down transformer. The next thing we'll be using to make sure we can power everything is an adapter. And what an adapter does, in simplistic terms, it's a plug changer. So if you have one plug that will not fit into your power outlet of your country, you'll use an adapter so it can adapt to the country of your choice. There is no voltage changing taking place in this, no frequency changing taking place in this. It is basically just an adapter. It's a plug changer. The third device we'll be using is a frequency 60 hertz converter. What this actually does, this takes the voltage down from 240 or 220 to 120 stroke 110, and it lifts up the hertzage from 50 hertz to 60 hertz, and that's what the frequency 60 hertz converter does, which allows your hair clippers to run seamlessly. So that's the third device that we'll be using to ensure we can power all of these hair clippers, albeit 220 or 120 volt or 240. Right, so let's start very simply. This is a Andis Pro Alloy hair clipper. It's a UK hair clipper. So first and foremost, before we plug it into any plug, we want to ensure that it is safe to do so and it will work correctly. So when I turn it over and check the specification, it says it requires a voltage input of 230 volts with a 50 hertz cycle. So based on what I said to you earlier on, all voltages between 220 and 240 that are an output can go into any hair clipper that has an input of 220 to 230. So we know we're safe to do that. Also, I'm coming out of a UK socket. This will be the same in France, Russia or anywhere, and it will have a 50 hertz cycle. So we know, based on it requiring 230 volts and a 50 hertz cycle, we're safe to plug it in, and it's just simply a case of plugging that one in. That's a very straightforward powering of a hair clipper. Now, slightly more complicated is the Wahl Super Taper. This is a European version. Again, before we go into power it here in the UK or wherever you may want to power it, we first turn it over, check the specification. This says it has, again, a specification of 230 volts with a 50 hertz cycle. So we know we are absolutely good to go in this power outlet here in the UK. The only complication or challenge is the fact that it has a European plug socket, male socket, and we know that this will not go into a UK power outlet. So what we need to do is grab an adapter, and remember what I said the adapter does, it basically acts as a plug changer. We don't, the power coming out of this is good, so we don't need to bring it down. It's just a case of plugging it into the adapter, so it adapts for a UK outlet or whichever outlet you have in your particular chosen country. This video is going out to the world, and that just goes in there, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, that's done. So that's how we'd power a European hair clipper here in the UK. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. We have the Andis Fade Master. Looking at the specification, it requires 120 volt input with a 60 hertz cycle. So here in the UK we have 240 volts with a 50 hertz cycle. So first and foremost, to stop it from blowing up, we need to take the voltage down and ideally take the frequency up. So just to make a point, and as an example, we are going to use the Maplin standard 240 to 110 transformer, which has a 50 hertz cycle when it takes the voltage down. So I know that when I plug this into a standard transformer, it's going to make a really bad noise. And the reason for that, the Fade Master, it has what's called a magnetic motor, and a magnetic motor are completely dependent on having the correct frequency. Without the correct frequency, that is what you get, is the banging noise. So the solution to that problem is the frequency 60 hertz converter. Now, this is plugged in already here, the power, and what this is going to do is take the voltage down to 120, yet it's going to lift the hertage up to 60 hertz. So when we now put the Fade Master in here, it will run nice and smooth and seamlessly, just as if you was powering it in the USA. So that's the role and the job of the frequency 60 hertz. Drop the voltage to 120, lift the hertage to 60 hertz. As a result, it runs nice, smooth and seamlessly. Right, so that's the frequency 60 hertz. So next we're going to move on to cordless trimmers. One is a Wahl and one is an Andis Slimline Pro Light and the Wahl Retro T-Cut. Now, when you're powering cordless clippers, you have to be particularly careful because there's parameters. The Wahl tend to be very territorial in their clippers. So clippers that are for America, they want them to stay in America. As such, this just has 120 volt input. It's not frequency dependent, so that's the only great thing about this. On the other hand, the Andis Slimline Pro Light clipper has a voltage input from 100 volts to 240 volts, and again, it's not frequency dependent. So let's just first start off with how we're going to power the Wahl. Like I said to you, this has a strict input of 120 volts. The hertage you do not need to worry about because you're just charging a battery and it's not frequency dependent. So I know I need to take this voltage down or it's going to blow up on me or stop working. So in order to do that, it's not frequency dependent, so I can use something just like the Maplin transformer, which is going to take it down from 240 to 110. That would just simply plug into a socket like this. Because it's specifically for America, the input has been adapted already with the 2-pin for the American socket. So that basically just plugs into there, and I know that that's going to charge correctly. There'll be no smoke and no blowing up, and that will charge correctly. So that's the Wahl. Read the label, 120 volts only. Hertage is not dependent on hertage, so you just need to make sure that the voltage is down. So that's how I power that. Now, the Slimline Pro Lie, like I said, when you read the label, which you can now do, and you should have a complete understanding of what it's talking about, it says it has 100-volt input to 240 volt. So this doesn't matter whether or not I go straight into my 240 supply or I go into a transformer. You may want to use this transformer because you don't have an adapter and you know that it's been adapted already for America. So first we're going to take it down to 110, and we've got the ability to plug that American socket into here because it wouldn't fit into this. We've got options here and we can go straight in. If we haven't got one of these Maplin adapters or something similar, we can go straight transformer, sorry. We can go straight into an adapter because, like I said, it doesn't matter what voltage you put in there, whether 120 or 240. Plug this into the adapter. The adapter goes straight into here because we know we're safe. And again, that will charge up your Slimline Pro Lie safely and correctly. So there you have it. The demonstration on how to power any hair clipper in any country with a voltage between 220 and 240. I hope you found this demonstration helpful and it was clearly explained. If you do have any questions with regards to the demonstration, feel free to leave a comment. If not, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're curious as to why the US hair clipper makes a clattering noise when the frequency is incorrect, I'm also going to leave you a link below for a previous video that I did. So like I said guys, I hope you found it helpful. Until next time, Larry the Barber Man, I'm out of here. Thank you.